எதன் கண்ணே நிலையாகி இருந்திடும் உலகமெல்லாம் எதனென்று அனைத்துலகும் எழுமோ மற்றிவையாவும் எதன் போட்டாம் எதனால் வையமெல்லாம் எழுந்திடும் எல்லாமும் எதுவே ஆகும். அதுதானே உளபொருளாம் சத்தியமாம் அச்சொருபம் அகத்தில் வைப்பார். தேகம் கடனிகர் ஜடமிதற்கமெனும் திகழ்விலதா நாகம் சடலமில் குயிலில் தினமுறு நமதியதான் ஊகம் கரனெவன் உளருணர்ந்துளருளக் குகையுள்ளே சோகம் ஸ்புரணவருணகிரி சிவ விபு சுயமொழிவான் தேகம் கடனிகர் ஜடமிகர் ககமென் திகழ்விலதாம் தேகம் கடனிகர் ஜடமிகர் ககமெனும் திகழ்விலதாம் நாகம் சடலவில் துயிலினில் தினம் ஒரு நமதியலாம் ஓகம் கரனெவன் உளனுணர்ந்துளர் உளகுகை உள்ளே சோகம் ஸ்புரண அருணகிரி சிவ விபு சுயமொழிவான். நமோ ரமண. By Bhagavan's immense grace, we are embarking on the meditation on verse number 10 in the Ulladu Narpadu Anubandham. And we have tried to see how Bhagavan has placed these verses for us, verses 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 in this the segment on the nature of truth, nature of reality. We saw that verse number 6 was the key factor was on Devanya Yar Manam Tervan. It was on the one who is able to observe or witness the thoughts. Then in verse number 7, Bhagavan took once again a translated verse, the Ekashloki, where the attention was on the light that reveals everything. Then Bhagavan's own Ekashloki, that is Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. So Bhagavan brought us to the pinnacle of the Brahman alone is shining as I in the heart. So that was verse number 8. Then we saw that in compassion, Bhagavan once again opens up the supports of the Chidakasha in the verse number 9. Ahakamalate amala achala ahamuruvamahum arivede. So in verse number 9, the translated verse from Devi Kalotram again opened up that we could observe the thought-free consciousness as Chidakasha, and then as Bhagavan gives Upadesham to Chadwick and many others who see the blank, You are still there, isn't it? The Atma is still there. So the Atma Swarupa is the final resting point, is how Bhagavan brings there. Now, in this verse, Bhagavan opens up from this perspective of Vichara Marga, from this perspective of Jnana Marga, he opens up the whole of the Bhakti Marga for us with the Saguna Upasana, with the Upasana or the worship of Nama and Rupa of the deity by giving us the answer to who am I. Usually in the Jnana Marga, Bhagavan doesn't give us the answer. What will be rising as I, but Bhagavan gives us the answer here so that we can hold on to the answer with name and form as Soham Spurana Arunagiri Shiva Vibhu Swayam Modirvan. This is the, in the Muktakatrayam, this is the third verse. Deham Mrinmayavat Jadatmakam Aham Buddhir na tasyastyato Naham Tattatabhava Shukti Samaye Siddhatma Sadbhavatah Oham Bhava Yutah Kuto Varadiya Drishtatma Nishtatmana Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shivara Purno Vibhati Swayam. So that is the translation from the Sanskrit to Tamil is what we find here, that Deham Gadanigar Jadam. I present before you Sadhuvam Swamigal's meaning for this verse in English. Before that, we can see the short form given by Bhagavan to Indra, the daughter of G.V. Subramanya. She just selects the first four words in this 4 lines: Deham, Naham, Koham, Soham. And Bhagavan says, Bhagavan is so happy and he says, that's enough, that's enough. You don't need to remember the rest. Deham, Naham, Soham, Koham, Soham. These 4, if you remember, the entire essence of Vedanta Shastra is contained in that mantra. Mantra of Deham, Naham, Koham, Soham. And that is what Indra catches on. So through her, to all of us, the essence of this verse is now in mnemonics, available as the first words in each of these lines. Deham, Gadanigar Jadam, Adar, Kahamenum Tigal Viladal, Naham, Koham, Soham. These are the initial words of each of these lines. So that itself is given to us in mantra form by Bhagavan himself. That if you remember this, and G.V. Subramanya goes ahead and writes, just 2 days back when Krishnaji read to us from the talks, how the Jnana Pranayama is Bhagavan's own finding, is what G.V. Subramanya says. That Bhagavan says, the outgoing breath is Deham, Naham. Then the inside breath is the enquiry, Koham. And the inside breath retained is Soham. So, if you apply it to Vichara that we have learned, then the thought that has come out is the Sukshma Sarira, that has to be left as Deham, Naham, and Koham has to be inquired, and the stillness where the inquiry rests is the Soham. The Soham is not a word or a mantra. It is the Nididhyasana Sthiti in Abhyasa. It is the Anubhava in the Arudha or final state. So, the Soham is not a mantra given to us, but is an Anubhavam. Even in the Abhyasa Sthiti, if we are practicing the Who am I, there it becomes the, the resting point. It is like the Kumbhakam in Pranayama. The Kumbhakam is the inward resting point. The inward resting point in Atma Vicharam is the stillness which comes when we turn inward with Who am I. So that is the introduction to the verse by G. Subramanya and his daughter, the blessings they have given to us And Bhagavan has given us that short form as Deham, Naham, Koham, Soham, and the Jnana Pranayama. We can apply it to Atma Vichara, as I said. Now coming to the translation by Sadhuvam Swamigal, the Deham Gadanigar Jadam Idar Kahamenum Tigalvilada is translated as the body, Deham, is insentient like an earthen pot, since the consciousness I does not exist for it, that is, since it does not possess any I consciousness. And Bhagavan would refer to this many times by saying, does the body say I? Does the body claim as I? Something else rises and says, this body is I. So the body is inert by itself. Many times Bhagavan would also use it to show us that the cow or the world does not say I am a cow or I am a world. It does not say that, but it is something else that is rising. So it is not only the body that is inert, but whatever is revealed by the consciousness permeating through the body and going out and seeing have the same characteristics as the body through which the consciousness permeates. So they are also Mridmayavat, Jadatmakam, Aham Buddhirna Tasyastito. It does not have the I consciousness. And one more fact is adduced before giving us the practice of who am I. The additional fact is that Naham Sadalamil Tuilinil Tinamuru Namadiyala. No one says that I do not exist. When the body does not exist, in deep sleep, every day, we exist as our nature. Our nature is existence. Isha Jivayo Veshadhivida Satsvabhavato Vastu Kevalam. So there is existence which is not denied even in deep sleep. So the second sentence is, since our existence is experienced as I am daily in deep sleep, where the body does not exist, the body is not I. So two facts are adduced. The body does not have an I consciousness by itself. Second fact is that even when the body is not present as in deep sleep, one does not say I am not present. I am still present before the deep sleep, through the deep sleep, and after the deep sleep I am present. So that is, these two facts lead up to Koham. Deham, Naham, they lead us to Koham. And in the Sanskrit verse, one more additional support, Namadiyalal is the support in that we exist in deep sleep. In Sanskrit verse, Bhagavan gives two words. One is Siddhatma, that is Namadiyalal, Sadbhavataha. The Sadbhavataha is the feeling that I am. Siddhatma is that the Atma is the Siddha throughout the three waking states. Siddhatma Sadbhavataha. So those two words, Namadiyalal, these indicate the I continuing through all the three states, and therefore the I has to be perceived as the reality, not anything in the waking state, not anything in the deep sleep state, not anything in the dream state, but the I that continues in all these three, that has to be perceived to come to the truth. So, Koham Bhava Yatah Kuto Varadiya Drishtatma Nishtatmanam. That is, in Tamil, it is Koham Karanevan Ulan Unarnd Ular Ulad Guhai Ulle. So, the reference is to those ones who have realized the importance of the continuity of the I, and those who have sought who am I, or from where do I arise, what is the nature of this I, Evan. They unarnd, they experience that, and they remain in the art cave. They understand that the truth will be revealed only by tracing this I, which is continuous through the waking state, through the deep state and the deep sleep state. It is my bounden duty to search for that which is continuous rather than anything in those states which are all broken up. Knowing this, there are those who seek sincerely, who am I? And in what way I have arisen? From whence am I? When they inquire like this and remain in the heart cave, Soham Spurana Arunagiri Shiva Vibhu Suyamulirvan. There, the Arunachala Shiva, Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shiva Purno Vibhati Swayam. As the Purna Vastu, Arunachala Shiva himself will rise and answer that inquiry. He am I, whom you are searching for, whom you are searching for as that which is continuous and unbroken, not as the entities in the broken waking state or dream state or the ignorance of the deep sleep state, but that which is continuous and conscious and unbroken. That he am I, says Arunachala, and he rises and shines. Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shiva Purno Vibhati Swayam. Arunagiri Shiva, the omnipresent Vibhu, will shine forth spontaneously as the Spurana. He whom you are searching for as the continuous I, he is I. That is how the verse ends. So let's go through Sadhguru Swamigal's translation without the split up. The body is insentient like an earthen pot, since the consciousness I does not exist for it. Since our existence is experienced as I am, daily in deep sleep where the body does not exist, the body is not I, Naham. Within the heart cave of those who abide as the self, abiding, having scrutinized and known as who is this ego person, who rises as I am this body, where is he? Koham, Arunagiri Shiva, the omnipresent Vibhu, will rise forth spontaneously as the Spurana, he whom you are searching for, he, the continuous I, which is unbroken in all the three states, he is I, Purno Vibhati Swayam. That is the meaning we have seen from Sadhguru Swamigal. We have some points for our practice that emerge from the talks and from meditating on this verse, which I would like to share with you. Some 6 or 7 points which you can have in mind as the takeaways from this verse for practice. So the first one is, we clearly see Bhagavan is opening up the whole of Bhakti Marga for us, that along with Atma Ucharan, one can legitimately and surely hold the Bhakti Marga alongside, because the moment you leave Atma Uchara and let it go, then Loka Uchara starts definitely. So where there is lack of strength or lack of reminder of Atma Ucharan, one can surely hold the Bhakti Marga sadhana which one has been given by Bhagavan. 100%. That will prevent us from going towards the Loka Vichara, which is complete dispersion of our energies. So that is how this verse starts. But do we need to take these supports? Is it necessary that we take these supports? Of course it is not necessary. If we feel ready and capable, Bhagavan's description of the purpose for which he has come to this earth is to spread the Tanmaya Nishta. It is not even to spread Atma Vicharam. It is to spread the Tanmaya Nishta. Tanmaya Nishta means Chinmaya Nishta is Chidakasha, Tanmaya Nishta is self alone is. Tanmaya Nishta means the self alone is. The Maunam, the Purna Bhashana of Dakshinamurti Swami, that is the purpose for which Bhagavan has come. He says, Tanmaya Nishtaye Ulagengam Solvadarka. Or to spread the Tanmaya Nishta, it is itself a misnomer. To reveal that Tanmaya Nishta is everywhere, that is the purpose. So, can we not take the support of Chidakashan and the mantras, Arunachala Shiva, Ramana, 100%, that we can go to Atma Ucharan and you will find that Bhagavan comes in support. The moment so I had foolishly decided that I will go only for Atma Vicharam. But even for such a fool, Bhagavan came, and he came and the Nama would be there. I would be feeling I am holding the Nama, but later on the Mahima of the Guru, the Mahima of Bhagavan is revealed, that it is he who has come in support. It is Ramana who has come in support. But can you decide to take up Atmavicharam alone? Bhagavan himself says no other support is required. You can go Kevalam Brahma Matram, and whatever support is required, it will come automatically by Ishvara Kripa. There is no doubt about this, because it is Ananya Bhakti. Whenever Ananya Bhakti is done, all the load, including the supports required, is borne by Ishvara himself. So that is the first point of clarification, that do we need to take the support of Chidakasha? If we refer to talks, whenever somebody comes and have vision of that Chidakasha, Bhagavan would not allow them to stop there. He will ask, for whom is this blank? For whom is this light of consciousness? You ask, go to Tanmaya Nishta. Don't stay with Chinmaya Nishta. Don't stay with Chidakasha. Go for Tanmaya Nishta, because that is the final resting point. Bhagavan will take them there. So that is the first point of clarification, that you can go and the supports will come automatically. So in what sense we can take? Whenever support is there, you can take that it has come automatically by the instruction of self-inquiry being carried out. Otherwise, when doership is there, we can hold those. Definitely, they are all the mantras, when properly received, as Bhagavan will be telling us, are of great power. So we go ahead to the second point. The second point is that does the Deham Mrinmayavat Jadatmakam include all the three shariras? Obviously, the Stula Sharira doesn't have consciousness of its own. Any thought, including the I thought, is having only borrowed consciousness. The deep sleep, or I do not know myself, or I do not know of deep sleep, the ignorance, that also does not have consciousness or non-consciousness of its own. They are all lit up by some other consciousness. It will become clear when you understand that there is always the query, who am I pending there? For whom is this body? For whom is this thought? For whom is this thought that I do not know? So the whole of deep sleep is only one thought to be transcended. But it has to be transcended. The whole of deep sleep underlies the waking and dream, because I do not know myself there. If you take deep sleep as the lack of self-knowledge, then that deep sleep is present as underlying factor in waking and dream. So unless deep sleep is transcended in inquiry, the other two states cannot be transcended. Therefore, we can say that the ignorance permeates the other two. Therefore, the who am I, it lights up the source of the waking, source of the dream, and source of the deep sleep at one go. So all the three, the Stula Sharira through which the waking state is perceived, the Shukshma Sharira or subtle I thought through which the other thoughts are perceived in dream or in conscious contemplation. If you look at it right now, when you are listening, when I am speaking, when the sensory world does not have any good or bad in it, then the whole state becomes a dream state. Then I am only involving the thoughts within myself. There is no finality in the communication. It gets finalized by something within you, and my own finalization has to be within me. There what happens, the sensory world is now transcended, because there is no real right or wrong or good or bad in this. It is all in me. Then we come to conscious contemplation or conscious dream. Now Bhagavan says that conscious dream also, you make it into deep sleep by removing the thoughts. By saying for whom is, that's what we will be practicing in a few minutes. That for whom is this thought, from conscious dream to conscious sleep. Well, the conscious sleep of Chidakasha is now turned into Tanmaya Nishta of self alone is, then the Turiya state, that the self alone, then the three states is not there, is realized as Anubhavam. So all the three bodies, the Stula Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira and the Karana Sharira, all the three are to be taken as inert. Now, we find that this point that the truth about the creation or truth about God can never be known by human beings has been arrived at by many people, but it can be clearly understood by Bhagavan's Ekamaksharam Hridi Nirantaram Bhasate Swayam Likyate Katam. The other Muktakatrayam Shlokam, if we take, we can clearly understand why Yama says to Nachiketas that thought can never penetrate or thought can never understand the truth of the self. Why does Yama tell like that? The thought is in the area of birth and death, whereas the truth is beyond that, that we can never penetrate with thought through expression or through trying to grasp through thought the self. We can clearly understand in the other Ekashloki of Bhagavan, Muktakatrayam, Ekam, Aksharam, the truth or the self is Ekavastu. Whereas the moment you have thought, it becomes Triputi. There is the thinker, there is the act of thinking, and there is the thought. With such a derivative instrument which draws its lights from the one Vastu, how to know? So it is not possible. So if one is going to look for proof or way of proving to the world that self is there, one should drop such understandings immediately. It is a waste of argument. It has to be pointed out. The other person has to practice it and experience it within. So these Ekashlokis of Bhagavan make it clear that the truth of the self is not within the grasp of thought. The area of thought has to be transcended. The area of thought, I said even deep sleep can be a thought, no, because when somebody asks, how was your deep sleep? I don't know what happened there, but I was happy. That's what we all say, isn't it? So that point, that third point having been cleared, this I am Siddhartha Sadbhavataha requires some pondering by us. That is, we have covered Deham Naham. Before embarking on Koham, there is an additional point given by Bhagavan that in deep sleep I am. Now we all are Bhagavan's devotees, so we clearly understand that yes, even when the body was not there in deep sleep, I existed. So I have to pursue that I. So we go. But when we read from talks, at least 2-3 instances are there where people don't agree that they continue. They say we don't know. One is a Mohammedan friend who asks Bhagavan that when Bhagavan asks, in deep sleep also you were this body, then he says yes. Why should I not say I was the body? Then Bhagavan uses the ultimate astram. Then in death the body should claim, I should not be taken out of this house. This property is mine. Hey, why are you all taking me out? Like that the body should take it. Then the person realizes, no, I am not the body, I am the consciousness within the body. Then Bhagavan tells him, see, so far you were falsely feeling that you are the body. When that identity is there, worship with name and form alone is possible. It is even wrong to imagine you are doing worship of the formless. So there is nothing wrong in worshipping God with form, so far as you identify with I am this body. But the point we are taking here is a bit gentle point that the affirmation that the body is not there has to be taken on faith by Bhagavan, because that is an area where when we go to the depth of the body, the whole of the Buddhism, they tell that it is not the same person that continues, it is the set of samskaras. There is another talk where G.H. Mies, a youngster from Holland, I think, he asks this question to Bhagavan. It is said in Buddhism that it is not Nandakumar who continues. Suppose some vasanas are there, some samskaras are left unattended, even till the death of this body, then what is it that continues is the question he asks. And GHB brings the point that in Buddhism it is said that it is not Nandakumar who continues, but a set of samskaras, the gunas which are there, they realign. They realign and form. Whereas in Hinduism we believe that it is I who continue, provided the samskaras have not been finished. Some pending samskaras are there. Along those lines, I get a rebirth and I have to continue my journey. Now, how do we reconcile this? This point is reconciled by Chandogya Upanishad, where the example of the ocean itself being dried up in evaporation and falling back on Kaveri and falling back on Vaigai or falling back on Ganges, that water is still Ganges, that water is still Kaveri, that water is still Vaigai. Therefore, even in death, when we merge into the unified consciousness, where the journey is not complete, where the self is not realized, it is me who regathers and continues, says Bhagavan. So that is the truth of continuation in deep sleep. That means what? Somehow or the other there is a continuation in deep sleep. It is enough if we know that what is it in the waking state also it is there, in the dream also it is there, in the deep sleep also it is there. It is the I. That is why who am I has been given. It has pakka foundation, it has firm foundation in this understanding that what is it that is unbroken, that is continuous, it is the I. There we have the story of Janaka, the Janaka Maharaj story. I think we have recounted that earlier also. So I can narrate the story of the Zen master who dreamt that he was a butterfly in a garden. And once he woke up as the Zen master again, he had this doubt. So he is the Zen master who has gone to his sleep and he has a dream, and in the dream he is a butterfly flying between various flowers. His question was similar to the question of Janaka. Janaka also had this dream. He goes to bed in the royal bedroom, but in the dream he becomes a bhikshaka because he has been defeated by the rival king and has been sent wandering as a bhikshaka. He goes and stands in queue for the gruel, and that gruel leaf, they scrape some gruel and put it on that, and a kite comes and takes it off. A huge bird comes and takes it off, and he is pathetically hungry and poor and decrepit, and he shouts, "Oh Bhagavan, what am I?" And he gets up and finds that he is back in the kingly state. And therefore he inquires, is that the truth or is this the truth? Is that kingly nature that I am finding now, is it the truth? Or is that dream where I was dreaming that I was the worst poor person, just the last bit of food in my hand has also been taken away? Which is the truth? Then the Ashtavakra comes and he clarifies by introducing that not only in these two states, but also when these two states were not there, in deep sleep also, what was it that continued in all the three states? In the waking state of king, in the dream of the poor man, and in the deep sleep when none of this existed. Then Janaka meditates and finds, oh, it was I who was present. Then Ashtavakra says, you are the truth. You are the truth. So ask who am I, inquire who am I, he says, applying it to the Zen master who dreamt that he is a butterfly. His query was also the same. Am I a Zen master dreaming myself to be a butterfly, or am I a butterfly in reality who is dreaming the Zen mastership and all this paraphernalia of people coming and showing respect and all that, which is the truth? So there also, if Ashtavakra had met that Zen master, he would have told, not only these two states, you complete the circle by knowing who was there in deep sleep also. In all the three states, the I was there. Pursue that which was continuous in all the three. and let go of the three states which are discontinuous. Not a single entity in the waking state of which you are biased and totally imbalancedly attached to. All that attention has to be drawn and fixed in the I, which is commonly and continuously available in all the three states. Then we come to the last point of the Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shiva. Now the Arunachala Shiva is the opening up of the Bhakti Margam. It is the opening up of all the Margams for us. Because in talks, Bhagavan says, those who cannot practice Atma Vicharam should develop devotion to one of the ideals. The ideal can be God, Guru, the whole of ethics, or even the concept of beauty. He says, any one of them you can treat it as God, as the one which is in charge of the all of creation, and meditate on that. And those who are not capable of both, they can take the support of pranayama, Bhagavan says. And fourthly, he says that those who are not capable of Atma Vicharam and Bhakti, and by physical circumstances they are not able to take pranayama, can practice the art of the nishkamya karma of serving others and having indirect happiness in their happiness. Slowly their ego will become vain and they will come to either they will come to Atma Vicharam, or through that path itself they will get liberation, Bhagavan says. He puts the clause like that. You have to read talk numbers 26, 27, 28 for a revisiting of Atma Vicharam, Bhakti, Pranayama and the Karma Marga by Bhagavan with B.V. Narasimha Swami. Now we come to the point of what this exactly opens up. The Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shiva. Because Arunachala Shiva Nama was Bhagavan's Nama that was going on inside him, and he felt that it is normal and natural to everyone. Just like Swami Vivekananda told to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa that just before going to sleep, there is a flash of light, and into that light he goes into sleep. Is this not how everybody goes to sleep? He asks, and Paramahamsa is noted to have said, he is noted to have laughed and said, no, it's not like that. But what happens at that point when we understand this is the nature of everyone? Then there is no effort required to hold on to that. It becomes sahaj. When it is realized that this air is available to everyone, no special effort is required. It becomes natural. Similarly, the Atma Jnana becomes natural only when we understand that it is the common property of all. If there is any particular plane, then effort is required. So we come to how the Arunagiri Shiva Vibhu Bhagavan gives us the clue in talk number 195. I would like to read to you how Bhagavan gives us this clue from the I, how the Nama comes as support. You will find that where breath sings, there the I thought arises. This is talk number 195. I am reading Bhagavan's words. The breath and the I thought sink and rise together. The I thought also will sing along with the breath. Simultaneously, another luminous and infinite I will become manifest, which will be continuous and unbroken. When the I thought is taken to the source, as Bhagavan says here in this verse, for those who take the I thought to the source with who am I, to them, Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shiva. Here, the I thought also will sink along with the breath. Simultaneously, another luminous and infinite I will become manifest, which will be continuous and unbroken. That is the goal. It goes by different names. The I current goes by different names. It is called God, it is called self, it is called Kundalini Shakti, it is called consciousness, it is called yoga, bhakti, jnana, etc. So all those things which we call are only referring to the I. So the mantra, the whatever mantra we are given by Bhagavan and we hold, It rises from the I and it takes us to the I. That is what is said by Bhagwan in talk number 78. That what happens when you hold the Arunachala Shiva is that the self is called by different names: Atman, God, Kundalini, Mantra, etc. Hold any one of them, and the self becomes manifest. God is no other than the self. Kundalini is now showing forth as the mind. When the mind is traced to its source, it is Kundalini. Mantra japa leads to elimination of other thoughts. So when we do mantra japa of Arunachala Shiva, it leads to elimination of other thoughts and to concentration on the mantra. The mantra finally merges into the self and shines forth as the self. The mantra finally merges into the self. But can we pick up the mantra casually? No. The mantra has to be, talk number 8, Bhagavan says the mantra has to be picked up by the mantra adhikari. The one who has now practiced and gone to the self with the mantra, he alone can give the mantra. Now, interestingly, we find when I had the opportunity to meet Panchajakshi Amma, Pankajakshi Amma, whose songs also are there in Ramananjali. I had 2 meetings with her alone, but she was so outpouring in her relationship with Bhagwan and nothing to hide. She was saying in the morning all she has to come is get up, then the Arunachala Stuti Panchakam and the whole of Ramana Stuti Panchakam will go on automatically. See, the word automatically is very important because their doership has been completely erased by the mantra. The doer is gone. The japi is gone. The mantra has erased the doership. That is where the who am I becomes easy for them. The mantra brings them to who am I. The whole of Aksharamana is a mantra. The whole of Ulladu Narpadu is a mantra. The whole of Ramana Stuti Panchakam, the Ramana Nama is a mantra. The whole is also a mantra because it removes the doership. It is to my great happiness that I could also discover that the Kandashashti Kavasam which was taught to me in the family, because that was our family deity, is a mantram. The Spurana can be felt to be throbbing, to be hitting when the Sashti Kavasam is here heard, the chanted. It will be throbbing, the self from within, the manifested I, the God will be throbbing in the heart. It will be pounding when the Sashti Kavasam will be going. That will be that's what a Zen master will say. The student will ask, what is this you are talking about self and all? Will I be able to feel it? Then the Zen master will hold his nose and hold it tight until he says, let me go, let me go. Then the Zen master will tell the student, could I hold your nose? The student will say, yes, yes. It is more direct, the holding of the self. It will throb, it will shine, and it will be self-luminous, and there will be no way you will miss it. Hold the koans and inquire into the truth. It will be his instruction to him. Our instruction from Bhagavan is practice Atma-ucharam, practice surrender, use Bhakti and Atma-ucharam together. Atma-ucharam inside and surrender outside to Bhagavan. There is no way the self Kandaranbhuti used to be chanted by my brothers. I was more familiar with Sashti Kavasam and it had come throughout my journey in the ups and downs. So that's why I felt it's necessary to share that India is such a bhumi, such a jnana bhumi, that only externally we were bound, but we were always focused on the real bondage and how to free ourselves from the real bondage. That is why so many mantras, so many these ones are there. But Bhagavan says, hold on to one. All of them are equally efficacious, but you should take care to hold on to one, that which you like. Someone asks Bhagavan, which is the mantra to take? Then Bhagavan gives this clarification. Don't go after all. Hold on to one. And in last discussion, we found that hold on to one can be an attention, a bhavana of uniformity, of non-disturbed attention. which Sulochanamma was following, that she would have the Ekabhakti. That bhavana itself is the undisturbed light of bhakti, which would take her to self-enquiry, because she would say in her last few days, she would say, now Bhagavan has given me this trouble only so that I will do self-enquiry. I will cut myself off from other works. Nandakumar, that is why he has given me this trouble, so that I can do self-enquiry and self-enquiry alone. So that is where the devotees will be brought by Bhagavan without fail, without any doubt. Bhagavan's Nama, the Ramana Nama, will bring us to Atma and will reveal and end itself and merge itself in the throb of the I, which too will become quiet. The I is the uh, is the shining, whereas the self, even this Veda, the Swagata Veda, is also not there in the self. There is the Swagata Veda. You will find Gadapati Mene mentioning this, that all the three, the world, the Ishvara and the Jiva, are now shining as I. But one should not stop there. One should not stop with the I. But one should hold on to the I without asking anything from it. Or one should ask, for whom is this shining? And gently be in touch with the I. And the I also quietens down into the Shivam. The Shakti, the manifested self, becomes completely quiet. And then the Atma alone is, the self alone is Kevalam Brahma Matra. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in practice of Atma Charan for 10 minutes. Namo Naka.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. The shlokam, Deham Ranmayat, which we enjoy hearing at the beginning of every satsang, especially when we come to that part of Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shivaha, that we can experience the bhava of that, the sinking into the self. In fact, sometimes we notice that the sloka becomes so soft in its intonation because of the sinking within to the self. And it's a very beautiful verse with which Bhagavan has blessed us today, which, as Nandakumar ji pointed out, is that Deham, Naham, Koham, Soham is the mantra, that's the whole process. So it starts with Deham, Naham. Unless one has some doubt about the Deham, where is the question of coming to Koham? For some reason there is the doubt that the Deham cannot be the truth. And Bhagavan is actually speaking about his own experience as a boy of 12. He saw his father's body being cremated. He first wondered why they were crying, because father's body was just as if asleep. But what had happened? What was the difference? And then it was cremated. Then that thought came to him, this young boy of 12, like Chiketas. It struck him that father could never have been this body. Because if that body was my father, nobody would have burnt it, nobody would have cremated it. It would have also protested. That's what he often points out to us, that the body is jadam because it never protests when it is taken to the cremation grounds. And this he also experienced as his own, this very sacred month of July, as his own direct experience. He faced death and he understood that the body was lying dead. And then that current within him, it flashed forth as I, that which had actually resonated in him as Arunachala clarified itself to be Soham after the what we call the death experience or the enlightenment of Bhagavan. Arunachala revealed at that point of time to him, this is what I am. This is what I am. So, Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shivaha Purno Vibhati Swayam. So, the Deham Bhavana has to be put aside. Deham Naham is the starting point. But here, today we got a very beautiful emphatic clarification that Deham does not refer to the physical body alone. One of the devotees at Madurai, he used to refer to the Bhagavan's instruction to Gambiram Sheshayar, saying, putting aside the corpse-like body as a corpse, you get into the self. Now, he would say one can put it aside in thought. And that this can be an aid which is suggested. However, Nandakumar Ji or I, we did not suggest that as an aid. That was what he was wondering about. Whereas it can be an aid to think that the body is dead. However, that is not Deham Naham. If one imagines that the body is dead, when Bhagavan did the inquiry, he did not imagine that the body is dead. He did not put it aside in thought. See, all this happened without thought, says Bhagavan actually, in a flash, without thought. So, it is not a putting aside of the physical body. Sometimes we do that in our sadhana, we'll say, okay, what does it matter what is happening? If there is pain, what does it matter? Or if there is hunger, what does it matter? In that way, we may put aside the physical body. But who is it who is putting aside the physical body? If not one who is identified with the body. To say, let my hunger be, I have to be Sharada. So, the point of Deham Naham is, as Nandakumar ji said, it is all the three. It is Stula, Shukshma, Karana, Sharira. The very connection with the Deha has to become Naham. That this body cannot be I. In fact, when it comes in totality, as it came to Bhagavan, then automatically the Koham has to rise. Because there is no answer at all. There is no space. When there is no identification with the body, what is one to say? What is one to think about? What is one to hold? So there the Koham that rises, and the support or the adhara which Bhagavan gives us, that it is continuous in all the three states, is the affirmation that Koham does not lead to Shunya. It is not Nashunyam. Again and again he says it. Here also Purno Vibhati Swayam. It is the fullness. It is not leading to the blank. The negation of the body does not lead to Shunya. It leads to the Purna. That's what Bhagavan is telling us over here, whereby the fear element, as Nandakumar says, if we have a fear, that can be overcome with that faith that the self is fullness, and that bhakti towards the self, that faith in the self, that it is fullness. The same time, one of the pointers today has been that whatever the faith, when the support of faith is taken, whatever the faith, that faith has to be Purno Vibhati. That faith has to be complete. It cannot be wavering, it cannot be partial, and it cannot be towards a partial entity. It has to be so full that that entity swallows us. Then only that bhakti can take us to that point which the vichara takes us. When it becomes all consuming, when there is no gap, when there is no, when that self, as he said, that the mantra is automatic, when it is total, when it alone is, when there is nothing else. So that Eka Chintana, which Bhagavan refers to in Upadesha Saram, which is again understood in two ways. One, that it has to be only of one thought, single thought, which will destroy the mind, or thought of that single, of that Soham Arunachala Spurti. That alone, when there is thought of that, then that will destroy the mind. As Nandakumar ji has told us in the earlier verses also, that Spurana, that staying with the Spurana will destroy that. Spurana also destroy or dissolve it into the self. So that is what Bhagavan says, Eka Chintana Nashametyadaha. So the Deham Naham, one has to hold on to it in order to give strength to the Koham. Then only, but simply having a thought of Deham Naham will not lead to Deham Naham. Otherwise Bhagavan could have stopped with those two lines. But he went on to Koham. Koham has to arise, and Koham has to drive the mind inwards and stabilize it in the Soham till a point where that Soham also dissolves and Arunachala Shiva Purno Vibhati Swayam. Because Soham is also, there is I and there is He, Soham. Though in that Spurana probably that is Soham. Because there is that He, it is He is that self. So that is the Spurana. But that Spurti also dissolves into Arunachala Shiva Purno. That Swayam Purna, which is Arunachala Shiva, says Bhagavan over here. And all the salient points of this verse, a very, very, very significant verse for us. Each and every verse is significant. At that time, when Bhagavan gives this to us, this becomes the most significant verse for us. And when we hold on to it, it will lead us by His grace to that very Purnatva of the self. That is a promise which Bhagavan is giving us over here. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.